Hey guys, and what's going on? Tyrauku here. I hope you're all doing great. Today, I want to talk about farmers. All right. Now, I know I'm from Kentucky. We're not talking about those kind of farmers today. Today, the kind of farmers that I want to talk about are campaign farmers, Minotaur farmers, and we're going to do some potion keep farming as well. Now, the reason why this is important is because you're going to spend a huge chunk of your time farming these areas. Okay. So, while you don't have to be the fastest, which the fastest farmer is Fellhound. Some people will say Ithos, but Fellhound's the best for sure. I mean, he's consistent, 5 seconds if you have the right champions, but we're not talking about Fellhound today, actually. And I'm actually going to talk about going against Fellhound, as in like not using Fellhound, which if you come by my stream, that may seem almost blasphemous because Fellhound is the champion that I use all the time. He is one of my favorite champions in the game because I use him in the campaign a ton, okay? And I really like Fellhound, but people come to the stream pretty often and they say, how's your Fellhound built? Because they're curious. Now, let me show you guys how Fellhound farms and how fast he is. But today I want to talk about Bellower after I show you Fellhound and then kind of why you may actually find more value in building Bellower. Sorry if I just made a ding sound in your headphones. If you're wearing them, I did hit my mic just now, so sorry about that. But Fellhound right here, 7 seconds, because I have some slow champions in here with him, but he typically does it faster than this. Now, Fellhound is a champion who's kind of hard to build, all right, to be honest. Now, we'll go in here and look at his gear, look at his stats, and if you're later in the game, it's no problem whatsoever. He's a great champion. If you don't have anything else to work on, build him. I'll show you his pieces of gear that he has. You can see his stats down here at the bottom. Let's run through this real quick. So you see that his pieces are fairly decent. His stats are 252 crit damage. These stats may seem unrealistic to a lot of people, and they very well may be. Granted, his speed is low. He just needs to go faster than the waves. I love him. I think he's a great champion. But when it comes to recommending somebody to 6-star a certain champion, I don't think Fellhound's the best option. He does great for campaign farming, but outside of that, he really doesn't have a ton of uses. I used to use him in Fire Knight and things like that. Really, that's the only thing. Fire Knight and campaign farming. I don't even use him in Faction Wars. So very, very, very niche champion. The champion I want to talk about today, though, is Bellower. And the reason why I do is because I believe that Bellower, and you guys can correct me if you know somebody who's better and easier to build, but I believe Bellower is the easiest to build, most consistent and reliable farmer there is. I'm going to show you guys how he can do campaign, he can do Minotaur, and he can do some potion keeps, okay? So he can do so much stuff, but besides that, he's amazing in dungeons. So obviously he's not going to solo the dungeons, at least not that I'm aware, but he's amazing in them. All right, so dragons, his skill kit, A1, he places a block active skills. A2, decrease speed. A3, decrease attack and decrease defense. Every ability he has, all AoE, increases ally speed and faction crips. I mean, we already know what Bellower is. He's been around for a long time. But let me show you his gear he's wearing and kind of go over his stats and then show you where he can go and why I think it's so important that, especially if you're a new player, if you pull a Bellower, why I think he's such a good investment. And if you see people using faster farmers like Fellhound, don't get too caught up in that because the difference is not going to be very huge. Now, going from your starter champion to Bellower, that is a pretty big difference because Bellower, he has really two ways you can build him. You can either build him to go fast, which is 200 speed and above, because at that 200 speed mark, you start going 2 times before the enemies go on Brutal Campaign. Now, granted, if you take the Mastery, Whirlwind of Death or whatever, you can go a little bit less speed because that first wave, as long as you kill him, the next wave you'll go twice before the enemy goes, as long as you calculate this in, do whatever addition you need to do, figure that out, and you should be fine. But these are his masteries that I have set up. Now, I have War Master on him. You don't have to do War Master. You can go whatever build you want, but as you can see, his stats are not anything crazy. Let me show you his accessories that he has real quick. I don't have an accuracy banner or anything like that, not even attack percent. I was trying to, not even an attack banner. I do have some attack percent stats there, but I was trying to keep it as, I guess, low on the gear side of things as possible. But to be honest, I mean, his stats, I don't think are super unachievable. The main things you want to focus on are, well, there's 2 routes you can build him. You can either build him to one-shot all the ways, or you can build him to go fast. If you're building him to go fast, take 2 turns for the enemies, 1 turn, build him survivable, build him to do enough damage so he actually does kill the enemies in those 2 turns. So crit rate to 100% if you can. You don't need a ton of crit damage for him to do this. You don't need a ton of attack. I actually have an HP percentage chest plate to prevent myself from one-shotting all the waves very easily. So I've kind of limited that down. Now, the accuracy is actually pretty important. So if you don't already have Void accuracy being built in your Great Hall, I definitely recommend you do that because not only are you going to use Bellower, But a lot of the champions later in the game, Madame Saris, are void champions and they need accuracy. All right, so investing in void accuracy is definitely not a bad thing whatsoever. And as you progress more and more in the game, you'll find yourself using more and more void champions, most likely. So void accuracy, definitely something worth considering, especially if you're going to use Bellower as a farmer, because if he's landing those debuffs, it makes the waves farming so much easier. All right, so this is how he's built. Obviously, I do have some 6-star gear on him, but it's nothing crazy. I even have him way over crit cap. I wasn't worried about min-maxing this. Now, I did try to like stack him up with some gear to see if he could do Nightmare Campaign. He didn't do it, so that wasn't really going to work perfectly. Now, when it comes to Brutal Campaign, let's see how fast he does it, okay? So Fellhound did it in 7 seconds. He typically does it in 5 seconds, though, so keep that in mind. My Fellhound just doesn't feel like performing today, basically. Bellower is not going to be that much different than Fellhound in this case, I don't think. I'm going to predict probably 8 to 10 seconds, which I guess that's a pretty big range when you're talking this quick anyways. I'm going to say, let's say 9 seconds. 9 seconds, probably pretty likely. So 7, okay. It's going to be more like 10 seconds, actually. Okay, so 11 seconds. Now, if you're using a farmer like Kale, they're probably doing 15 seconds or more, which may not seem like a huge difference. Granted, I do have some slow champions in here, and I could build my Bellower to one-shot all these waves, and he would go quicker. But this drop is actually pretty big, especially as you consider how much you're actually going to be farming. Now, this may not be the huge deal, but when you couple this Bellower build, which is pretty minimalistic in my opinion, and you guys can let me know, obviously it's not going to be very beginner, early game, accessible gear, but if you're to the point where you're considering doing these things, it should be reasonably achievable. At least I believe so. So in Minotaur farming, Minotaur is an area that a lot of people don't consider farming. Now, one thing to keep in mind here is this chick right here does place a debuff, and sometimes this could cause things to go bad, but the reason why I have him in lifesteal gear is so he can hopefully recover. Now, I've done this like 3 or 4 times. He hasn't failed at any of those times, but like I said, he's also on the lower side of the gear things. I'm trying to do like as minimalistic as possible. So it could be a little bit risky, but worst case scenario, just throw some resistance on him. Don't know exactly how much resistance you need, but if you throw some resist, you don't have to worry about this champion locking you out of your abilities or anything like that. Also, if he uses his A1 ability, places the block cooldowns, then you're fine anyways. But once he gets to the Minotaur, this War Master proc is really going to help him out, kill the Minotaur a little bit faster. If I had him with a lot of crit damage or was trying to really optimize that, maybe I would go Helm Smasher or I would go Flawless Execution. But in this case, I think War Master works perfectly fine. Now, when I was talking about Minotaur farming, the benefits of farming Minotaur solo is that you can take your champions, and if you use an auto clicker or not, it doesn't really matter. You can use your multi-battles, whether you use the raid pass or if you use just the 30 multi-battles, but you can literally take that, throw in 2 champions who are level 1, 6-star, with no masteries, throw them in there with Bellower, and they'll go through the Minotaur, they'll get leveled up, and get their masteries at the same time. Much better than leveling them through the campaign and then taking them to Minotaur when they're already max level. You could even throw in 4 champions, which I've done that before, and actually did that quite a bit. The issue with the 4 champions is it does take a while, so you'll be doing that over the course of several days, most likely, and if you're only using your multi-battles, it could feel like a very, very long time. So it depends on how fast you want to rush things, but if you're going the route of being efficient, if you're doing this with Minotaur, 1, if you have a full team, everybody will be level 60 by the time you finish, and they'll all have their masteries done. So it's a perfect system, plus you get this silver each time. So you're getting silver, you're getting your masteries, and you're getting levels. Now, I have a video that goes more in depth in this. If you guys want to check it out, I'll go ahead and link it up above. So if you guys click that, it goes in depth how much kind of Minotaur will save you if you farm it like this. But Bellower is an excellent option. And also, he's Void Affinity. So we can take him over here. I know there's a few other farmers that I mentioned before, Shield Guard and Saurus. So Saurus is, where is Saurus? He's down here. He's a Spirit Affinity champion. He has an AoE on his A1, and he can hit pretty hard as well. AoE on both abilities. And then Shield Guard is another champion who's really good. I mentioned him in my Minotaur farming video. He's also a very good champion, also Spirit Affinity. The issue with that is that they do have weaknesses against magic affinity areas, so keep that in mind. Bellower, come up here to Arcane Keep. We can't do stage 20 solo, but we can do stage 15 solo. So I'm gonna go ahead and put him in here and show you guys what else he can do. Now, if you're trying to do these fast, you don't need a solo champion, of course, right? If you're doing it fast, this is not conducive of speed runs, but if you're trying to be efficient, this works out perfectly. Throw in some food champs, have the masteries where if an ally dies, you I think gain more speed, those different masteries, that's going to help Bellower go through this even quicker. Like I said, with the War Master mastery, he's doing damage based on enemies' max HP, which is helping him out even more. In these areas, I'm not for sure how easily Shield Guard and SARS could farm them because you do have some of these magic affinity champions, but I'm sure geared properly, they could do it. Bellower's just so smooth with it. And unlike those other champions, he has very, very high usage in other areas of the game. Doom Tower, dungeons, faction wars. I still use Bellower to this day in faction wars. Basically, I guess, if you're early game, Bellower is a great champion to consider investing in. And even if you're later game, he's a great champion if you're looking for some easy to gear solo champions for those different areas of the game, Minotaur and things like that. I mean, currently I think I use Venus to do a lot of my Minotaur farming because she is faster than Bellower, but not everybody has the options of those legendary champions who are also void affinity, right? So a champion like this is great. And like I said, I've been asked about this several times on stream, and while I do love Fellhound, I don't like setting people up for failure, I guess. And I think Bellower is a much better option. So hopefully, instead of answering it a lot more on stream and maybe leading people the wrong way, I want to put this video out there to show you guys that Bellower may actually be the best option if you're looking for a next 6-star champion who could fill several different roles. Because when you're coming up in the game, you want to be as efficient with your resources as possible. You don't want to take champions as 6-star who you're not going to use really ever again. This is not going to be the case with Bellower. Definitely, you'll for sure use him. Like I said, I still use him to this day, mostly in faction wars at this point, but he definitely gets a ton of use there and some areas in Doom Tower as well. So this, perfectly fine. Now, he does do this as well. I did this with him earlier. Hopefully he's still saved. It does take a little bit of time to do this, unfortunately. I'll go ahead and start it up though. We'll run it through. If I have to cut it to the end, I'll just cut out what I'm saying in between it, but this is consistent. I mean, that decreased speed, decreased defense, decreased attack work out perfectly. Against this boss specifically, the decreased defense really comes in handy. Now, can Shield Guard and Saurus do this also? Maybe, because they are strong affinity here. But I got a feeling it's going to be a lot harder for them to do that than it is for Bellower, considering he's void. He has amazing debuffs. Decreased speed is a very good debuff. Granted, it is the weak version of decreased speed. Oh, speaking of, I didn't even talk about him in the arena. He's a very good arena champion as well. If you are trying to do like an ally attack blender team in your very early game, this doesn't work as well later game because he just doesn't hit hard enough. But if you have an ally attack champion, you can use Bellower in that team, and he actually does some pretty good damage and can definitely work well in arena. Even if you don't have that, if you need a good debuffer, maybe you don't have War Maiden, you haven't farmed it yet, he does a decreased attack and decreased defense. Granted, they're all the weak versions of those abilities, but he hits fairly hard. So he can definitely slot into your arena. Basically, he's an okay champion, I guess I'm trying to say. But nonetheless, you can see he's moving through this stage pretty easily. I don't know how many people struggle with this specific boss stage in the potion keeps because other than his increased defense, he's not that difficult, I don't think. Not like the magic keep or the spirit keep where you have to have like a lot of specific things going on and happening, like stripping the shield or heal reduction. This boss is not that complicated. But Bellower, decreased defense, works out perfect. And it looks like it took a little over a minute and a half. We're approaching probably the minute 45 mark, which actually is not as long as I expected it to be. See? All right. So we got 7 potions there. Now, most people are doing stage 20 now. I don't think he can do stage 20. Like, I'm pretty sure he'll just die flat out first turn. But, you know, since we're here, let's test it. Maybe he can do it. I tried him in Nightmare. There's no way. There's 0% chance that he can do this. It'll be news to me for sure, if he can. Yeah, he's dead. I tried him out in Nightmare campaign. It was about the same results. Now, I think with, like, super crazy gear, you could do it. But that's not realistic for this video. My main focus and my main point that I want to get across to you guys is if you're looking for a great farmer, an efficient farmer, and a very easy to gear farmer, pick Bellower. You can either go with the 200 plus speed route where you take 2 turns per enemy's turn. You don't need as much damage if you go that route, or you can go the route where you get 100% crit rate, maybe 200+% crit damage, go for attack, and you'll be one-shotting all the waves pretty easily. That build may be a little more difficult when you do things like Minotaur and the potion keeps. This build I think is more consistent, more reliable, a little bit slower, but it's definitely safer. Accuracy is great for him as well, especially if you use him in areas like the arena. Placing these debuffs, very crucial for allowing him to clear these runs, especially things like the force keep. Placing that decreased defense, lowering his defense, very nice. Masteries, I think, are necessary for him. you could probably get away with not having them, to be honest, to do a lot of this area, a lot of these content places, but definitely invest in him. I mean, you're going to be farming Minotaur with him. So get his masteries, very much worth it. This counterattack saves me a lot. Lifesteal, I like lifesteal set for him. Heals each time he attacks. You can go with other builds as well. Of course, you can do Savage if you are going to do the one shot, one kill each wave in the campaign. He'll do a lot faster farming there, and you can go for like Savage or Cruel gear in that case. But other than that, guys, fully book your Bellower. He's easy to book. I mean, rare books come easy enough if you're doing clan boss, and 3v3 you can bound from there as well. So guys, let me know. Have you built a Bellower for these areas? And if so, have you tried, better yet, is yours less geared than mine? I'm curious as to how low people have gone with Bellower to still get him to perform very well. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Feel free to click one of the videos about to pop up. I'll catch you in the next one.